meeting to order. Those in attendance rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues in joining us in this regularly scheduled April 18th, 2022 City Council meeting. As you come in, the door to my right and be to your left, there's a desk with a sign-in sheet. If you're a guest with us tonight, please sign in. City Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Councilmember Sopa?
Present.
Reiner?
Here.
Beer?
Here.
Morrissey?
Yes.
Sharp?
Here.
Stuchel?
Here.
Pratt?
Here.
Zeiser? Mayor Stockford?
Here.
We have 8 present here.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move into approval of agenda items. Does the city manager or any member of council have any changes they'd like to see made to the agenda? I know we've got this certificate of appreciation for Officer Todd Holtz, who retired this past week with 30+ years of service at the city of Hillsdale. So we'd like to add this onto communications and petitions as item F. Is there anything else? Can I get a motion to add this certificate? Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, there's something else, but,
Okay.
just in the minutes, page 13 of the packet, when we voted.
Tony, we're just voting on the amendment.
Oh,
And
okay,
if there's any
okay,
changes,
okay,
we should
okay,
make on
I
the
got you,
amendment.
okay.
Sorry, Councilman.
That's all right.
Do I have a motion to amend the agenda with this item, or is there any more changes to be made to the agenda?
So
Councilman Beer?
Yeah, just for the additional change on the agenda
Okay.
was the minutes from the last meeting. Basically was, they were saying that we were voting on the parade to delay the decision until this meeting, and we actually approved the parade
Okay.
on the last, so that's just,
Okay. So we can change.
Adopt the agenda, and then when we get to the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Just note
that changed.
Okay. Yeah, so when we get to the consent agenda.
Okay, all right.
We can address that.
Okay, yep.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
I move the agenda.
I second.
So amended.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey. Do I have a second?
Second. Got approved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt to amend the agenda with item number F. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? What is going on here, guys?
We need to amend the minutes,
Yeah.
with Councilman.
Under consent agenda.
That'd be under the consent agenda, wouldn't it?
Yes.
We'd skip after public comment, then we'd go to that, we'd adjust it then.
Yeah, when we go to consent agenda, we'll vote to approve the consent agenda, then we'll amend the minutes during that.
Okay.
Okay. Any opposed? The ayes have it, we have an agenda. We'll move into public comment on agenda items only. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. Please ensure if you're commenting on anything during this particular public comment section that it has a direct tie to something that's present on the agenda. Podium is now open. Seeing no public comment, we'll close the podium and move into the consent agenda. We've got approval of bills, city BPU claims, payroll, March 31st, city council minutes of April 4th, that's our last meeting, library minutes of March 17th, election minutes, commission minutes of April 6th, then we've got a closure agreement with Hillsdale College for commencement, a alley closure and noise variance for blue and white carnival weekend. That sounds fun. I haven't heard of that one before, but sounds awesome. And another alley closure and noise variance for a tent party, also for Hillsdale College. I assume these both are related to graduation. So do we have a motion to amend the minutes? of the last meeting,
So moved.
which would be item B. Do
Yeah.
I have a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Beer, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt, to amend the minutes to say that we
When we
voted and made a decision.
Right, on the
last
parade.
meeting, On the
Right.
parade.
Right, and we didn't postpone it to this.
And we did not postpone it for
Right.
this meeting.
Right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Nice catch, Councilman.
Yes, good catch, Councilman. Do we have any discussion on any of the items on consent agenda? Seeing no discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Briner, seconded by Councilman Veer.
Morrison.
Morrissey.
Oh, I heard two voices, I'm
Ray
sorry.
was quiet.
Yeah.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Veer, to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll move into communications petitions as soon as I catch up in my packet. The first item is Kappa 5K Walk Run. This is a yearly event. Lord in heaven, sorry, gentlemen. Please register by April 14th. It's $25 a person and $65 for a family, and that's up to 4 family members. And kids run free. Registration ends on April 30th. And that's all the information, other than there'll be food trucks there, so.
Do we
you
have to
wanna go
run?
Have a meal afterwards?
truck.
Sounds like fun, for a
we
good
have-
cause.
Do we have to run? That's the question. Can I just go for the food?
I don't think it says that. Second item is Mitchell Research Center's newsletter for March 22nd. This is a really cool one.
Yes, it is.
Very impressive. Third item is Comcast letter. Fourth is item number D is a letter from Ted. Something about the last meeting and the incident we had. And next there's an Arbor Day. Looks like our community has been fully approved by the Michigan DNR and the Arbor Day Foundation to, get certified for Arbor Day again. And we're a tree city, so exciting. Then the last item is this certificate of appreciation for Officer Holtz. I will read it. Says, City of Hillsdale Police Department Certificate of Appreciation, Officer Todd E. Holtz. Presented in recognition of your 32 years of loyal and dedicated service to the city, Hillsdale City Police Department, and the City of Hillsdale community. Your pledge to keep our community safe has made a difference in the lives of countless individuals and families. Never forget the difference you made every day. Congratulations on your retirement from all your family at the Hillsdale City Police and Fire Department. It's signed by the chief, and then there's a place for me to sign, April 9th, 2022. Look at that. That's nice.
Awesome.
I'm really happy that we do this for our guys now. So, and I assume you'll get this to him, chief?
Yes.
Okay. So any discussion on any of the items on the communications petitions? Councilman Soha?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to comment on Ted Jansen's letter and make it publicly known how much I appreciated that. We get vilified at council regularly from the podium, and for a man to be humble like that and apologize and be sincere is very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councilman Soha. Any more discussion on any of the items in communications petitions?
Did you hear me okay? Sometimes I need to
No, I'm
enunciate.
still working on the system.
But it's definitely better.
Air conditioner's not running.
Anyways, thank you,
Not yet.
Mayor.
Any more discussion on communications petitions? All right, so we will skip the next two and go right to new business. We need to set a public hearing for CBDG, that's Community Block Development Grant application.
She's here, you and Kristen here.
She's here.
Kristen? Did you wanna address this item in the council packet? Your name's on it, so.
We have to set the public hearing. Oh,
All right.
no, we're applying for another community block grant, or block grant, in the amount of about 2 million of grant funds and about $680,000 that we will match for water and sanitary sewer project. We're in the process of putting that all together, but one of the stipulations of the grant is that we have a public hearing with all the grant documents.
Of course.
Yeah, so we should be complete with the grant documents by the end of the week. I've got some project drawings I need to put together, so this is just setting that hearing for May 2nd. We will be putting a public notice in the paper for later this week, which will meet all the parameters for timing as far as the grant is concerned.
Awesome. We got a lot of public hearings coming up. Any questions for Kristen? Councilman Beer?
Is this to address the project 2 years out, where we have all the sewer issues up on,
No.
Westwood Drive.
Westwood?
No, this is a completely different project. Our project scope is to replace 75 non-functioning or leaking water valves in the water main system,
Okay.
which we need to have functional to start doing water main replacements. And to replace about 1 mile, either line and or replace 1 mile of sanitary sewer that has holes and or is in really advanced deterioration. So this is in addition to the project that we're working on up
Okay.
in Westwood.
I hate to ask this question publicly, but do we know what our water loss is right now, percentage?
36%.
36%? That's not as bad as I thought. That's much better
That's
than
a lot
it
of
was.
water.
The average is
It's-
supposed to be 16%.
Yes, I understand, and it's good that we're addressing this, but if I remember right, we were double that at one time, so.
Yes, we're getting better, but this will actually address a lot of pipes that have holes in them, which is quite concerning.
Councilman Beer?
Now, in the grant process, does the fact that Hillsdale is kind of a watershed for the St. Joe River, is that come into play at all when they're approving it or
No, not
giving it any?
necessarily. I mean, part of the application, we're making the points that because we have holes in the sanitary sewer, you know, obviously that's leaking into the ground. So we want to address those issues most readily. In addition to the water infiltration that we're getting, because we're treating groundwater. 75% of our pipes are old vitrified clay tile, so there's a lot of loose joints in them, so we get a lot of groundwater infiltration, which goes off to the treatment plant, and that's water that's being treated. So that drives our operational costs up. So part of this grant is, targeting low and middle income, what do they say, low and middle mod?
Low to moderate income.
Low to moderate income. So, you know, part of our conversation in the grant application is the fact that our operational costs are high because we're treating all this water that doesn't need to be treated, which then gets passed on in operational expenses to our ratepayers. So by doing this work, we should at least hopefully be able to sustain our current rates or only moderately increase them as we need for replacement.
CBTG.
And it's a 10% match minimum, but we're looking to match at 25%. You get more points in their scoring category if we match more. So, for, $680,000 of our money for $2 million is a good bang for a buck. Yes.
Kristen, thank you for doing this. Is this a competitive thing?
Yes. There's only certain communities that apply, and anybody who's received this grant in the last 2 years is not allowed to reapply.
Okay.
So obviously the numbers are shrinking as to who's
Sure.
eligible. I can't tell you how many communities are eligible, but
Fair enough.
I think we have a very good project with the needs and the fact that we've done all the data, gathered all the data we've gathered on the water and sewer system.
Move to set for a public hearing for May 2nd.
Thank you, Kristen.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Soha to set a public hearing for May 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to item B, set public hearing for ordinance amendment, dogs and cemeteries. Mr. Hamel?
Evening, council, mayor, city manager. So essentially, we've had issues from time to time through the years, and in the 5, 6 years I've been doing this, with finding things such as the reference material, I guess supporting document I included in here, with dogs, with basically people not watching their dogs and or not following the rules. And the cemetery board at our last meeting requested that we bring it to this group, to this body, to ban animals altogether in the cemetery, basically just due to folks not being responsible when they have their pets there. There's a very specific set of rules, which are different rules in different places in the city, and I think we felt, or at least the group felt it was best just to ask for the ban.
Thank you, Jake. I get asked this all the time about a dog park in Hillsdale. Tons of residents. Lots of our residents have dogs, and they love to walk their dogs.
Mhm.
And would that cost us any money to do something like that?
Well, maintenance and upkeep, from what I understand, talking to a couple other towns, they pretty much had to assign a full-time employee
Okay.
to clean up. And that's
Coldwater has
not a
one.
real highly sought-after position.
I wouldn't think so.
That's what I've been told by a couple other cities. Certainly you have some fellow mayors, I'm sure you could maybe ask that same question, see what their response are, or is. Other DPS directors that have them did not give a favorable response.
Okay.
Told me to avoid them like the plague. Again, responsibility is an issue, getting folks to clean up.
Well, absolutely, and people can take their dogs to the parks, to our city parks as it stands right now.
Not all of them,
Supposed to clean.
not all of them. Sandy Beach, chief, right? No animals allowed? Mhm.
Okay.
It's posted all down at Sandy Beach. There's a lot of postings about no animals allowed there.
Sure.
A lot of that's just because of the beach, right? We don't want that to be a litter box.
No,
And,
I
some
understand that 100%.
few irresponsible folks burying things in the sand that their children, some other children find, is not a good thing,
Sure.
so.
Any questions for Jake? So we would set a public hearing for May 16th. Any council discussion? Motion to set a public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Beer to set a public hearing to consider an ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move to item number C, resolution to establish a policy regarding the accessibility of assessor's office to taxpayers. Dave?
So this is required by the General Property Tax Act, and the State Tax Commission. So this policy basically puts in writing the policy that, and procedures that we follow in our assessing department.
Hmm.
So this just puts it in writing so that we will have it out there posted so everyone understands their rights and process with working with the assessor's office.
Seems kind of bureaucratic, but okay. Our assessor's office is very accessible to the
Mhm.
public,
Mhm.
so, and we've got a wheelchair ramp for handicap accessibility or not a wheelchair, an elevator, excuse me.
Yeah, it's more on the processes and procedures and
Sure.
looking at your property tax cards and talking to the assessor's office about
Yes.
your taxing situation.
Yes, I understand. Any discussion on this item? We have a motion to pass the ordinance,
It's a resolution.
to pass the resolution, and adopt the policy.
So moved.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. It also says amend the resolution to adopt alternative policies, paying attention to the prior requirements contained within the statute, or table the matter and refer the resolution back to the assessor with recommended changes for consideration at the next regular meeting. I thought it looked fine. What do you guys think? Yeah. Okay, well, it doesn't matter, we passed the resolution anyway, so there's no.
Alright.
Resolution number
Yes, ma'am.
3492.
3492?
Correct.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to item number B in new business, traffic control order 2022-06 Sandy Beach Roundabout. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is from the improvement, the end of last year, out at the end of Waterworks Drive at Sandy Beach. There was a roundabout built at the end of Waterworks Drive leading into a paved area into the Sandy Beach Park parking lot. This is the required signage to go with the roundabout and let people enter the roundabout correctly and safely. So this is just the final step to get the signs up. Probably most of you have been out there to see that. Probably without the signage, it could be confusing to some people, so we need to get that signage up before the park system officially opens for the year. But this was part of the plan for the whole development for that last year.
Any questions for the chief? Councilman Stuchel?
Any lines in the pavement in addition to signs?
I intend on putting some arrows.
Pardon?
I intend on adding some more
Okay,
arrows to
okay.
help with that.
Because not everybody reads this one, I was just asking.
Yeah, we don't do traffic control orders for
Okay.
the pavement markings, just
Okay.
signage, so
Okay.
what they feel is appropriate to go
All right,
along with that.
thank you.
Any more questions for the chief? Thank you, chief. Any discussion? Motion to approve the traffic control order?
So moved.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Stuchel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Bill? Yes, ma'am. 3493. Okay, item E, 2022 Uran Street Project Bid Award. Kristen or Jake? Kristen?
As you're aware, or may recall, last year we applied for a grant from the USDA, US Department of Agriculture. It's called the Rural Business Development Grant for Uran Street. We have now completed the project, bid the project, and we received 4 bids on March 22nd for this. Because of the fact that we were getting funds from the USDA, they've had to do a review. They've completed their review. We need to award bid to complete more paperwork for the grant. So they've given me the verbal to go ahead and request approval of our bids from the bid date. Thompson Construction was the low bidder, and they are a contractor we've worked with in the past with no incident. Foresee that they can complete this project satisfactorily. And I can't give you a necessary date as to when we will start. However, we have a very hard completion date of mid-August, as we have to complete the grant work by the end of August. So we should be done by August 15th, bearing any COVID issues or delivery issues or anything that seem to come up in our bids. So just requesting that you award this bid to Thompson, and we will continue with grant paperwork and get this project rolling.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions? Councilman Beer?
Kristen, the 28,879 contingency, is that like a standard, is that like 12% or something?
I usually round up. I
Okay.
don't make it a round number, put contingency in because we just don't know what we may uncover
Right.
out in the field. So I don't usually necessarily use a standard number.
Okay.
I think this is a little on the high side, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. It's hard for me to stop a project and come ask for more funds rather than have a little bit more that we don't use.
And what was the original estimate on the?
I had $320,000 on the
Okay.
original estimate, but I had a pretty hefty contingency in there because we've got some material in there for having to do subgrade fixes and all of that we may not use. So the numbers actually came in pretty favorable considering asphalt costs keep changing about every other week.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
and
Thanks.
in fact, all 4 of them are pretty close in together in price. So.
Thank you, Kristen. Any more questions for Kristen?
Motion to approve Thompson Construction of Coldwater to do the job.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Morrissey to award the bid to Thompson Construction of Coldwater in the amount of $246,100, $246,120.28. My Lord. Can I please have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Briner?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Morrissey?
Yes.
Sharp?
Yes.
Stuchel?
Yes.
Pratt?
Yes.
Mayor
Yes.
Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
All approved, 8-0.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to item F, BPU mowing contract bid award. Dave, do you wanna do
Yep.
this?
So this is the VPU's side of the mowing bid award that Jake had put out and was approved at the last meeting by council for his items. As it states in there, the VPU went out to bid, as put out by Jake, for mowing around 8 lots around the city that they maintain. The prices came back very favorably, actually more than what we're currently paying, so we would like to proceed with this 3-year agreement with Baxter Lawn.
Yeah, this is a new company, huh, for us?
Yes.
Okay, any questions? They have a good reputation, Baxter. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Support?
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Beer to award the mowing bid to Baxter Lawn. May I please have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Beer.
Yes.
Morrissey.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Stuchel.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
And Brainer.
Yes.
8-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to item G, BPU purchase of pad mount transformers for stock. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. So this item in front of you is for $243,374 with TNR Electric. We've talked with both the Finance Committee and it is being recommended by the VPU Board to place this order. The lead time on transformers is about 8 months, or 32 weeks right now. And what communities, even large businesses like consumers, are finding that they're behind the 8 ball when it comes to having transformers for businesses or new homes and those things. So what this is doing is ordering a number of transformers to have in stock so we can get them at least on the way to prevent us from being, stuck out in the cold without any transformers in our stock.
Sounds good. Any discussion or questions? Motion to approve?
So
Do I
moved.
have one?
Support?
Second.
Oh my gosh. Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Beer. To approve, purchasing 59 pad mount transformers from TNR Electric. May I please have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Morrissey.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Stuchel.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
And Beer.
Yes.
8-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move into item H, adopt a community development plan. Each CDBG application requires the adoption of a community development plan that addresses community development and housing needs in accordance with the provisions set forth in Title I of Federal Housing and Community Development Act of 1974. As amended, the adopted plan must include, number 1, a statement assessing the needs and problems of the communities, including the needs of low and moderate income persons. In all applications, the assessment must address both overall community development and housing needs regardless of the category under which funding is requested. Number 2, a summary of possible long-term activities to address the identified needs and problems. Number 3, a summary of contemplated short-term activities to address the identified needs and problems. Number 4, a description of the effect of the proposed community development block grant project will have on the community. Number 5, a plan for minimizing the displacements of persons as a result of grant-assisted activities and to assist persons actually displaced by such activities. This is the same community development plan that was adopted on August 20th, 2018 in preparation for the Dawn Theater Blight Elimination Grant process applications, with modifications for the water-related infrastructure grant application May 17th, 2021 and April 18th, 2022. So this is the community development plan that we already have in place. We just have to adopt it again so we can apply for the grant that Kristen was speaking of earlier. Well, I did have one question about it, because I remember when we adopted this plan, and I remember the meetings for it, and I remember Councilman Morrissey attended them as well. And on here, it says long-term goals, and it doesn't mention anything about streets or infrastructure. And I remember us specifically being like, that's our number one council goal, we should have that in our community development plan. You remember that, Councilman Morrissey?
Yes, I do.
It's not in the plan. I swear when we adopted it, that it was in the plan. I guess it's irrelevant, cause it's just a bureaucratic document that goes to the state, but.
Kristen, in regards to this plan, this is more about our infrastructure and capital improvements, not necessarily.
Well, we do and will include in the grant application, the capital improvement plan, which does address, streets and all those things that are in your goals. So I think we're covered. It wouldn't hurt to put the language in here. We can either not adopt it tonight and wait to adopt it on May 2nd, which we have to have everything completed by May 13th, so we would have to do it then. Or we can adopt it, and everything else is covered in the capital improvement plan, which is included in the grant as well.
I was just curious because I remember this process, and I remember it specifically being spelled out that it was to be one of our long-term goals in the community development plan, and I remember Councilman Morrissey mentioning it, and I remember voting on it at council. And I don't see it in there, but I don't see why we need to wait if this is a time-sensitive issue. So.
Well, I mean, it is time sensitive, but we do have the next meeting that we could change it if you don't wanna do it tonight. It doesn't matter, I mean, we just have to have everything completed at the next meeting. I honestly have not read through this at all, cause Kelly was updating it, but, so it is pretty much the standard document that's been kinda carried through.
Sure.
And adopted with different project scopes as we apply for these grants.
Well, if we end up applying for a community development grant that can be used on streets for whatever reason, then we can adopt the plan again and we can add it at that point. But since this one's kinda addresses the specific water needs and.
Yeah, I mean, the project scope is about the only thing that's been changing as we develop a new scope for a grant, cause we applied for one last year on Galloway Street for the culverts that we were unsuccessful on. Cause this one's kinda focused more on water infrastructure than it is
Yes.
streets.
Okay. I was just curious.
Oh, no worries, I haven't dove into that part of it to be able to really answer your questions directly, but I know it's been something we're just carrying forward. But I will say something and we will make sure we get something in there for the next iteration of this.
Sounds great. That's okay with you guys, right?
Yep.
Any discussion on this? City Clerk?
I just wondered, I was talking about City Attorney Thompson, can you adopt it with that change added?
You can. At
Is
least
that
I
something-
understand you can. I shouldn't speak for
I mean, I don't know.
Yes, if we're asking me, you could have a motion to adopt it with the direction to add, language indicating that, one of the goals is also this.
Well, we should do that, just
So
in case.
Is there a delineation of project goals in that plan, Dave?
We're still discussing.
Okay. What's that?
I was asking the city manager if there's a logical place for it to be put in that. Is there a list of goals for the community in there?
Yeah, long-term
There's a
goals.
long-term
Oh, yeah.
goal
Okay.
list, yes.
One of them is drivability.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, one of them is increased drivability and walkability.
Okay.
That's definitely streets.
Yeah, we can amend that section if you
Okay.
wanna make that motion.
I got a motion in a second.
Okay, motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Morrissey to adopt the plan and also to add in there, street and infrastructure repair as one of our long-term community development goals.
Okay. We'll get it done.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. We'll move into miscellaneous reports. We've got one, and that is a proclamation for Arbor Day. Okay, it doesn't look like it's as long as it used to be. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, now therefore I, Adam L. Stockford, Mayor of the City of Hillsdale, do hereby proclaim April 18th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Hillsdale. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, dated 18th day of April 2022. Any discussion on Arbor Day? Nope. We've got no appointments and no others, so we'll move into general public comment. During this time, podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please limit your trips to one to the podium, and you can speak on whatever you like at this time. Podium's open.
Dennis Wayne Scott. Only thing I had to say was, you know, with the accessibility that for the, that you were talking about, that when you print up stuff to put on the windows, would you please consider those that have poor vision, that they would make the writing as a little bit bigger than what they have been? Now, the sign that you put on the front door when we came in here about cleaning, you know, checking in at Katie's office and stuff, that was readable. But, you know, some of that stuff that's put on there for a person like me and stuff, some of that's not accessible. You know, so, you know, you might consider a little bit bigger fonts on when you print those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Any more public comment? Okay, we're gonna close the podium, move into the city manager's report. David.
Mayor, just a couple of things actually, very brief. Just to let everyone know that we have a new flagpole that was purchased by the Rotary Club and put up in the roundabout there at Sandy Beach. Part of that went through the city, and then they are reimbursing us for that. Just encourage you to get out there and take a look at it. Very nice pole they put in. Just a reminder, on the 28th, we're going to have our budget workshop. So if you can make it, if you let me know, that way we can kind of plan for how many we're going to have here, and if we need to post a full council meeting for that. Actually, we'll probably post a full council meeting, and then
The 7?
28th.
At 7?
Yes. Was it?
Six.
Or was it 6?
Six.
Which day?
Okay, no,
Thursday.
This,
28th.
28. That was 6 o'clock, right?
Yes.
I'll be here.
6 o'clock,
Is that it, Dave?
That is it, Mayor.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Dave? Thank you, Dave. All right, we'll move into council comment. I have a couple brief things. The first thing would be Michael Stawarski was one of the co-administrators of Banished Hillsdale. He passed away. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Banished Hillsdale page, but it is an incredible page. It's almost like the Mitchell Research Center online. They're always posting historical things about Hillsdale, anything from 150 years ago to Hillsdale in the 70s and 80s. It's got like 15,000 followers, and so Greg McLogan and of course former Mayor Pro Tem Brian Watkins is very active in the page, but Michael Staworski was probably with the exception of Greg, probably the person who put as much Hillsdale historical information on there as anything. So I know he was a young man, and it's a tragedy. And Hillsdale history, so I thought that I should mention that tonight. I guess that's really all I have. Any other council comment? Councilman Sharp?
Yeah, I wanna mention that a firefighter has just retired after 45 years of service, Pat Flynn. So if you do see him out on the street, congratulate him on his service and thank him for his time. I served with him for 13 years, and I remember getting woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and most generally it would just be the engineer and Pat and myself would show up, because we're dedicated to the service, and he was very dedicated. And 45 years is a long time to be on the fire department. So if you do see him out on the street, thank him for his service. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bruce.
He was on our
City Fire Department,
city
yes.
fire department for 45 years?
45 years.
Volunteer.
Volunteer,
Oh,
part-time paid.
okay.
They don't call it volunteers, they're part-time paid. There's a difference.
Wow. Did we do a thank you letter for him?
We
should.
We haven't typically in the past for part-time paid, but I guess they do the same thing that are.
45 years is long.
45
Yes, it
years
is,
is a
yes,
long
it is,
time.
and it is worthy of recognition,
Yeah,
so.
thank you for saying that.
So, yep, let's definitely do that. We should really do it for any longtime employees.
I think Dave had something.
I was just gonna, it brought up to mind, the Community Development Committee had a meeting at the Mitchell Research Center on the 14th. We met with the Mitchell, Research Group, Councilman Zeiser and Councilman Morrison were there, myself and Jay Campbell. They gave us a tour and then we discussed various options, so that process is moving forward.
Awesome. And I'll also mention, I already mentioned it to Bruce, but I was up here earlier and they were hard at work on the PA system in here. So that is getting addressed as well. Hopefully it sounds better tonight.
Beer is not running, so.
I'm still trying to talk at my loudest talking voice, so.
Please
Any
let
other
us
council
know when it
comment?
is done though, guys, please.
I just want to tell everybody tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here in Chambers, Tifa will have their informational meeting, and they'll be going over their financial report, the proposed budget for this year, and development plans. That's
Awesome.
Tifa. So twice a year we are required to have a public meeting, or a public.
At 6?
6 o'clock here.
Well, thank you, and thank Tifa for holding it in the evening. That's the only way
Well, that's-
I can come to
yeah.
the meeting, so.
Our standard meetings are 7:30 in the morning, but this one we do in the evening.
Thank you. Any more council comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting's adjourned.